Hello guys, welcome to episode 13. The first of a special episode, our first guest on this one. We went for a bit longer than we originally thought, so we're going to break this up into two episodes, or two parts I should say. So this is part one of episode 13. You'll see the guest shortly. We'll run through our supporters. You want to take that, Brad?
Yeah, so looking forward to this one, mate. So Devil Accessories, our main man, he's got his own little small business, guys, so get around him and let's sort of make him big in 2025. Love to see the business grow. Aniki Auto Care, all your auto care stuff for your car, your boat or anything, he's your man to see. Renegade Grips, your grips, I think they do dog leads and that and a bit of other stuff, mate. Get around Renegade Grips. And Provoked Apparel, as Jaden says every time, 500 shirt in an order or a single shirt or whatever. They do a bit more than what you think they do. But get around these guys, small businesses, great people, great families, and thanks for supporting us. And thanks for getting a part of 2025 again.
Yep, so if you want to contact us, the Yarnsman Podcast at gmail.com if you prefer to email, or hit us up on the gram. Love your feedback. This episode is a bit of a, we say, a controversial one, but it's good.
Got some topics in it.
Yeah, so we took a deep dive, so really hope you enjoy it. Give us your feedback if you think we're right, wrong, what's your take, what should we do, let us know.
Alright, let's get to it.
Alright guys, welcome to episode 13 of the Offroad Yarnsman Podcast. As we discussed on episode 12, we have a special guest, Maddie from Westralian Offroad. How are you?
You're good. How you going?
Not too bad.
Good to have you, Matty.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I was talking with Brad sort of the other week, and we were actually going to do it as the first episode of this year, but we were just sort of put the call out to everyone about their opinions on bush clean-ups and tracks getting shut down and all that sort of stuff. Sent one out to you, Matt. You've kindly offered to jump on, and we thought, well, who better to have on with the, sort of the passion that you do for the bush and, the clean-ups and how the industry's sort of going at the moment. So thank you extremely much for your time and for jumping on with us. We really appreciate it.
No worries. Yeah, it's nice to be here, and I'm happy to jump into a bit of a deep conversation, perhaps.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty complex. There's a fair bit going on with it all, and essentially having someone with your passion, like Jaden said, that has a real passion for the West Australian bush, or let alone Australia, but just the whole getting out there and enjoying it, and the reason why we all go out and do it, and if we lose that, it's going to be a lot of pretty sad and sorry people, yourself, mate, and the background even I've had with you just yarning about that solo camping. I've reached out to you about that quite a few times, and the concept of switching off from the world and clearing your mind and going out bush is what it's all about. And we're probably not affected as much here in Western Australia, but I know in the eastern states it's slowly getting harder and harder to do that. Obviously if it goes at this rapid rate in another 10 to 15 years, mate, there's be a lot of places here in Western Australia that you would have found solace in just going and having some time out there. You potentially won't have that opportunity, mate, to be gone. So, a scary concept.
It is scary. It's just on a personal level, I guess. I've actually had to sort of remove myself a little bit from going out as much as I would like to, just because it's sort of became to affect me in quite a negative way, if that makes sense. Seeing the rubbish and the antisocial behaviour every time I go out, and you say that word solace, it's a good way to put it, because that's what camping is to me. It's not like that for everyone. It is a way for people to go out and blow off some steam, and everyone unwinds in that different way out camping. But for me personally, I'd become just so negatively affected by every time I go out. I'm dealing with all of that stuff, and it took away my solace. So in the last year or so, I've actually had to kind of stop going out as much. I don't know if triggered's the right word, but yeah, every time I was going out, just getting done in by everything that I'm seeing, and not ultimately not enjoying camping as much, and not getting the same not getting the same things that I would from it otherwise in the years previously. It's hard. It's really sad. It's hard to feel like that about something that you do feel so passionate about, and yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
And 100%, and I think, Jaden and I talk about it quite regularly, to where the difference is for me up here in the Pilbara and the Kimberley. I go on about it all the time. Anyone that knows me knows that that's my passionate region. I love it. I don't know anything about the southwest. I don't know. Jaden's always come down to the ups, and we sort of, we do a bit of piss taking here about the ups because it's a common thing. There's so many ups down there, but what you guys get to enjoy down there is very different to what we get to enjoy up here, and it's we're probably not as affected up here. But again, where there is still small pockets of areas that are affected, and I think a lot of it goes with population, mate. I know, obviously in the ups and your places that are quite popular down there, Yeringup, and I think I don't know how to pronounce all those, but like Lancelin and all these places that are flooded. It's a massive problem compared to what it is up here, and I don't know how to combat it, mate. Like, what's your opinion as a young fella, Jaden? Like, obviously you're about to have a baby and sort of bring a baby into the world and try and live that same passion as what we all do. Like, do you feel the effects and see that it's changed even in your small time? Like, obviously, you haven't been doing this since you're 5. Like, at the end of the day, does it affect you?
Yeah, it's just say my little short time, but no, like as a kid going to the beaches just in like 10 years ago or 20 years ago sort of thing. It didn't seem. I remember you used to get a 4-drive club that would come down on Easter or something, and you were cracking the shit, because all the beaches are whooped and all this sort of stuff. And like I wouldn't say I did shit loads as a kid, like down the beach as much as I wish I had. But yeah, sort of in that short time it's changed a lot. And then having potentially just watching over east, and then it's starting to come over to WA, and watching that sort of, I'd love to I want to be able to do it with my kids, I want to be able to create their memories with them. So just as for my own thing, wanting to get out, but let alone wanting my kids and what's it going to be like when they get their licenses and cars, and it'd be my dream to be able to work on cars with them, and take them down there and pull them out, have that dinner with them and take them fishing and all them spots. But it's already just from a few years that I've been doing it, there's just so many spots you can't get into, or you don't want to go into, as you sort of touched on, Matty. Like it's just it's not even you go there and it's just guys cutting up and this and that, and it's just not enjoyable anymore. Why do I do it? So but that's sort of a question I had for you, Matty, like sort of a similar thing. What's it been like for you, sort of with like your early days in with your channel and stuff like that, going camping and going out to the bush? Why you go out to the bush compared to recently? Like, what's the changes, and I guess your feeling of it all with your experience with it?
Oh, probably to pick up on a point that you made, Brad, just before. Your grace in your area is probably distance. You've got such vast distance between places, whereas down here in the southwest, it's a pocket. It's a total little pocket, and there is so much going on. We've got all these river systems and all these different forests and ecosystems, and so much variety. We've got dams, and there's so much going on, and it's all in this one area. And we've got Perth a matter of 3-4 hours away, and so unfortunately we've got so much in the area to go and see and camp in, so close together. And so I think that's a component for this particular area, with the southwest. And I think Jaden, you mentioned what's the difference. I think probably since COVID and the lockdowns and so on, the industry in general has just gone bananas. And
Just
it
wrote that
also
down, actually.
for positive things, obviously, but also real negative parts of it as well, which like with the social media culture, that's a real big issue, I think, with the TikTok and the Instagram, and there's been this real bad culture festered that has created one guy sort of doing something a little bit edgy, to then the next 10 guys, 100 guys, 1,000 guys sort of emulating that as well, and bringing that all down to an area that already couldn't cope and that was already sort of flooded. You always had the toilet paper. You always had the odd random family that's got nothing to do with social media. They just want to go off with their mates and get on the piss and have the music going and that. That's always been there, and for the most part, you could kind of live with that and avoid that. But then once COVID happened and it created this kind of echo chamber, not just here, but in the country in general, I would say, it's exacerbated what was already pretty poor behaviour, plus added this culture of like that real, because we're not just talking about the rubbish stuff, we're really talking about the full-blown anti-social behaviour. That's I think that's almost at the forefront now, rather than the rubbish part. I might be speaking out of school a bit with that point, but I think that that's having a far more worse impact now than rubbish itself. The antisocial behaviour seems to always be tied in with a camera, and of course, when something that's a bit loose and edgy is filmed and put on social media, it gets traction, and it's going to get traction with these guys that enjoy that, and that's their vibe. But it's also going to get the attention of authorities and the powers that be. That, let's face it, in this current world we're living in, everything's going pretty soft, and you're just giving these powers that be more ammunition to really go, okay, you're doing all this stuff in these areas that we're trying to control, and there's a lot of Indigenous ownership battles going on, and all sorts of things all coming together at once that are making this a real tinderbox.
100%.
For a real big problem, and that's where we're heading. That's this pressure cooker we're in right now, and something's going to give. And I think if the more ammunition that's put out there on social media for these powers that be, it just gives them all the more reasons to fast track shutting these places down, because that's always been their goal. That will always be the goal of these people when they want to shut places down for whatever reason or agenda they have. You're just giving them more reason to do it, and I think that's I've gone off on a tangent there, but I think that's probably the crust of it. I reckon
100%, and you're spot on. And just to everyone that's watching or listening, Jaden and I in the background, before we'd spoken to Maddie, we'd spoken about, obviously Jaden had alluded me to it, that Tony from the Outer Side podcast had put up a couple of stories on his Instagram that about the track closures and people getting behind it. And that podcast I've now watched twice, and there's some really complex discussions taking place. He did a podcast with old mate from Adrenaline Offroad, I think it is. But yeah, there were some really complex discussions and issues and all the rest of it. And I know Jaden, so we sort of spoke about it before. Jaden's got a couple of clips that Tony had put up, and we want to play for everyone just to give a bit of context to where this actual podcast episode sort of derived from and what it's all about. Do you want to play them, Jaden, and then we can sort of just go back into just like a couple of the topics that was spoken about. If you haven't checked out that particular podcast, after you've watched all ours, jump on there and have a watch. But at the end of the day, there's some really good topics in there. So do you want to play them, Jaden?
Yeah, so I've got two here just for the context of that was his, and this is a little bit old now. They've now got over 21,000 people have signed. So these are old videos. I think like last year, sort of December. So
Yep.
I'll play them now for you. I've got two just so you get the context of what he's saying once it loads.
Once it loads.
Are you sick of seeing locked gates? Because I know I am. If so, this one's for you. I've just submitted a petition to the New South Wales Legislative Council, also known as the Upper House of New South Wales Parliament. I'm calling on the Parliament to have a debate around the ongoing management and the strategy of New South Wales national parks, specifically in relation to outdoor recreation. If you're a four-wheel driver, a hunter, a hiker, a fisher, or anyone that loves the outdoors, then this is important to you. We need 20,000 signatures on this petition to force a debate in Parliament. If you're watching on Instagram, I'll put the link in my bio, and if you're watching on YouTube, I'll put the link to the petition in the video description. It'll take you less than a minute to sign it. You just need to put your name and your email address in. We're also calling on the Parliament to force national parks to publish a full list of all track and area closures from the last 10 years with justifications around the restriction of access of each of those areas, and also publication of any studies they've done in relation to the impacts those closures have created, specifically around tourism and the impacts to the four-wheel drive industry as a whole. This is super important, guys. If you want to continue to access public land that you and I, the taxpayer, are funding, then this is the opportunity to force the New South Wales government to sit back and actually listen to what we have to say. Make your voice heard. Sign the petition, share it with your friends and family. We only need 20,000, which shouldn't be that hard, but I'm sure we can get a hell of a lot more than that. Over to you guys. Cheers. Well, what a can of worms we've opened up here. Don't really know where to start. First things first, for everyone that's trying to sign the petition at the moment and is getting the recapture error, it would appear unbelievably that the New South Wales government is using a free version of the recapture anti-spam software. And apparently we've exceeded the limit. So if you're trying to sign the petition at the moment and you're clicking the I'm not a robot box, it'll give you a little error message saying that because the government's using a free version of this software, apparently we've exceeded the usage limit. I've emailed the Legislative Council to let them know and to get them to sort it out. So just hold off at the moment. I'll put a story up as soon as it's functional again. In good news, we've got just under 11,000 signatures on the petition. The video's been watched just under 1 million times in 2.5 days, which is quite frankly insane. Thank you for everyone for your support. Thanks for sharing the video. Thanks for all your positive comments, your insights. And, you know, it's good to see some of the negative comments and some of the people who are opposed to what I've suggested. I just want to clarify, I'm not actually saying we should unlock every gate and just make it a bloody free-for-all. I never said that in the video or in the petition. So for all of those people who are, I guess, on that far left and are attacking me and anyone that supports what I've requested with personal insults, generalizations, just straight up abuse, because there's been quite a bit of that. Maybe just take the time to breathe, read the details of the petition and listen to what I've actually said. What I'm asking for is transparency, information and some common ground. I believe that there is an opportunity for all recreational bush users to enjoy national parks land. And just to be absolutely clear, when we talk about national parks and wildlife service managed land in New South Wales, we're not just talking about national parks that are reserved to protect sensitive flora and fauna. It also includes state conservation areas, things like Lithgow, that are currently being mined with the approval of national parks. Think about what you're saying before you start abusing me and attacking me personally for sticking my neck out there and just asking for a little bit of transparency from our government. Anyway, thank you again. I hope you're all having a good break. I'll let you know once the government pays for the software that they need to allow us to complete the petition, and looking forward to hitting 20,000 signatures really soon. Cheers.
Crazy. There's some insane topics just even in what he's saying. And I heard you in the background just sort of have a little giggle then, Matty.
Yeah.
And I was sort of giggling through the same, not giggling, but just that concept of, you know, we're closing it down. National parks are taking ownership of it, but then they're letting the mines come in there and mine it. And it's just like, so how does that let anyone that's been taken out of that area have any other opinion than it's greed. It's all about money. It's all about, politics. It's got nothing to do with the good of the country and letting people work their asses off every day to earn money to pay their taxes, can't go and actually enjoy their recreational life. Like, it's a crazy concept. Like, there's so many topics in there.
There's a bit to unpack. Yeah, I just can't believe that he's. It blows my mind he's getting blowback for that.
Yeah.
And that there's people nitpicking what he said in that original video, standing in front of the gate. Because I've been following it quite closely, and Tones and I have talked a bit back and forward, and I just find it incredible that people would actually try and nitpick what he's saying there, and cherry pick from his general argument, and then attack him for it. Because and I mean, even the fact that it's taken this long to get 20,000 signatures, that blows my mind. Those videos clearly have gone viral, and you see, and I might tie this into the cleanup aspect that I've experienced as well, and the sort of the fickleness of this community. I don't want to get too negative about it, but like it's crazy how you can get these movements that will go viral. Including cleanup movements that I've been part of, they go viral and everyone does the virtual pat on the back. But then when you actually try and get people to use their feet, and let's say use their feet virtually, like clicking on a link and signing a petition. Granted, you had to be a New South Wales resident, I'm sure that would have maybe hindered it a little bit. But I mean, come on, there's got to be more than 11,000 full drivers in New South Wales. It took that long. There was a number of weeks it took just to get to 20,000, and that to me is staggering. That blows my mind. It kind of goes to show that people will they like to act like they care, but at the slightest inconvenience, it proves that they're not terribly invested in this lifestyle or community. If I was able to sign that petition, the second that video went up, I went to sign it, and it said you had to click a box that you are a New South Wales resident. Correct. But I didn't do that because I didn't want to. I didn't want to be the one of the reasons that petition may not be valid. Yeah, by having people blow in from other states.
Yep.
If you know what I mean. I wanted it to be as legit as it could be for New South Wales. But yeah, it blows my mind it took that long. And even still, it's only just made 21,000. Like, okay, cool. Should be 50, 100,000, how invested are you in this, people? Like, do you want to still be able to get out there or not? And it's quite different over there compared to WA. We don't have that sort of insidious government agenda. We've got our own issues with the government, 100%, but we don't have that insidious government agenda like they do over there, especially in Victoria, even Queensland now, and New South Wales, where gates are the new white bread, man. They just throw them up wherever they want. It's incredible. We don't have that here, fortunately, not just yet.
And I think one of the things that you just said, mate, is just like the numbers. That concept is, if anything, mate, if you sign that petition, if you jump on, if you don't know anything about it and you don't understand the topic, maybe educate yourself. And I think that's what Tony's trying to do. He's bringing it to everyone's attention. He's not saying, again, he just stated that, I'm not saying let's unlock everything and it's free for all, we want to get back into the Glasshouse Mountains. We want to be able to get back into Lithgow. We want to be able to do all that. It's not necessarily saying that. What he's saying is, guys, just educate us as fall drivers, hunters, fishers, hikers, kayakers, whatever. Just instead of just saying that's what's happening and it's done, like you can essentially go to a place that you've grown up at, and they talk about that pipeline track. I know zero about the pipeline track. But a lot of the guys on the East Coast all talk about it. The reality is, mate, they've all grown up doing that track. It hasn't been an issue for 20 years. And then all of a sudden it's all locked up, but there's no explanation. And that's what Tony's asking. Just, as recreational users, as taxpayers, as people that actually fund what you're doing, just give us some kind of idea. And what you've put in place, is there statistics to say that it's worked? Is there statistics to say that by keeping people out, I'll encourage people to go and watch the particular podcast that he does with, I can't think of his name, from Adrenaline Offroad. Go and watch it, and some of the things they talk about, and our mate talks about a koala conservation park that they're going to make over there, and there's 2 different sections. Don't quote me on all this because, I'm not educated on it myself. But the concept, no one wants koalas to become extinct and never have a koala in Australia. Everyone wants them. But can we not share the area? How do you just close off such a big area that's been going for so long? Maybe little sections of the area that, that we can sort of all, I don't know, peace, love and mung beans, but we can all sort of work in there and live together. That's the reality, but there's no explanation. It's just we're shutting it and deal with it sort of thing. So I think what he's saying is let's all get educated together. Let's all have a voice together. Because, mate, we know from, not to go on a tangent because I do the same thing, matey, but, Ruthie's done this years ago with, Unlock Australia. And we were a massive part of that. There's been so many people come up with these little fights, but they just don't get the backing of the people that they're fighting for. So Tony's fighting for the same causes, the same things that Ruthie was fighting for. But I think Ruthie, and Ruthie's a big name in the industry, still is. I would have thought out of all the people in this country that could, stand a fight for four-wheel drivers and recreation, because he's not just a four-wheel driver. He's not a mad keen fisho, but, he loves his gold prospecting. He loves, hiking or, anything to do with the bush. If you used to fight for the Vic High Country and the light, the horsemen, that would ride horses through there. They're not allowed to ride horses through there anymore. There's a massive amount of people that it affects, but just that small amount of people that are prepared to put their balls on the line and say, yeah, I'll help you, Tone. I'll help you, Ruthie. I'll fight with you. I'll back you. Just educate me, because a lot of people don't have education behind it. There's a lot of flogs out there that are just doing the wrong thing, and we know that. And I think unfortunately, there is just that small minority. But I said to Jaden the other day, mate, and this is probably off topic, but for me it stands the same. If I'm at work and I do 10 night shifts and I work my ass off and I do all the right things, I do a great job, you get noticed. But I'll tell you what, if I just don't sign one JHA or I forget to take me lock off at the end of shift on me last night or whatever, that's what I get remembered for. I get remembered for that one negative thing that I do. At the end of the day, it gets lost in transit that there's so many people out there doing good things for the industry, but there's that small couple of flogs that leave a fire going, do doughies on a beach and roll a car, doing 90 or 100 down the beach. They're the things that get remembered. They're the things that get advertised on the news, because, mate, we all love a story. We all love a bit of, love a bit of conjecture, and we all love a bit of conflict. Mate, if you want to be famous in this country, you've got to be a flog, and you do something dumb and you'll be on the news, and all of a sudden, that's a proven thing. You try and do good things, and it's just like you've got, I don't know, it's a weird concept, mate. And this country's full of tall poppy syndrome. People want to be successful and do good things for others, and it's just like, there's got to be an agenda. Yeah, the agenda is he's trying to help. The agenda is he's trying to do the right thing. So I find it really frustrating, mate, that people don't get on, and it was frustrating that I guess that you couldn't sort of sign the petition, the same as I know Krusty, a guy in his troop, he's trying to fight for a similar sort of thing in the Vic High Country. And the reality is, mate, you can't be from Western Australia and sign the petition. But there's still not enough numbers down there, mate. The Vic High Country, every second weekend when the place is open, there's people up there four-wheel driving, fishing, motorbike riding, horse riding, hiking, bushwalking, bird watching. There's thousands of people, but then you get 5,000 people sign a petition. What is that? Seriously, guys, it doesn't. You said it doesn't take anything.
To just underscore what you're saying there, your point about the good and bad. I think case in point to that is someone like Bo, who's self-funded and
Yep.
has a cleanup charity out there, Outback Cleanups. If you're not familiar with Bo, go and look for him. Outback Cleanups
100%.
Australia. He's out there, self-funded. He's a charity, so he's getting donations and things, but for the most part, self-funded. He doesn't work. He's been chugging away at this for 5 years or so, and his Instagram's maybe around 16 to 18,000 followers. And he's like doing. There's no one on this country that's working harder for the bush than Bo, I would say.
Yep.
Not physically,
Yep.
not literally speaking.
Yep.
But then you can have these guys that will go and roost up beaches, or I don't want to single out any particular kind of behaviour because I've done that before and I tend to cop it. But you get what I'm
Yeah.
saying? That antisocial kind of behaviour to any degree. And they got 100,000+ followers on Instagram. They got a huge TikTok account. Every video of them goes viral.
Yep.
And the you get some bird who's doing a YouTube video in a bikini top, catchy thumbnails and stuff like that,
Plenty
and they
of
just
them.
go gangbusters. They go gangbusters. Their videos and their content just go ballistic. 150 odd thousand followers. The real insidious problem with it is no one cares about anyone doing anything good.
Nah, and
That's
look,
that's the unfortunate. And same with Ruthie. You know, Ruthie's campaign was 10 years or so ago.
comfortably, yeah.
With Uncover Australia, and he lost a lot of his gigs from that. He was put in the basket of being too political, and he was ostracized
Too controversial.
from the community. He lost his place on the fall drive show runs, and he was sort of disassociated a little bit and alienated from the commercial industry because he was talking too politically and too seriously,
Yeah.
and people couldn't handle that. And it's
100%.
it's a real crying shame that happened because he was at the forefront. He could see this coming from 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Even myself and guys like Braden and Taylor over here in Perth, we were going pretty hard a few years ago, 4 years ago on our Instagrams, trying to sort of shake things up a bit. And you get a little bit of momentum behind it, but nothing viral, nothing that's gonna, and eventually you just have to give up because at the end of the day you're just unraveling your own head and your own mental health over it, and it's not healthy. And you're not getting any of the big guys. We did a lot of videos. Even Alex and I from Intense Offroad back at the time when he still had his channel, we had sat down, done a couple of videos about the topic, and flicked it off to a few big names around here, hoping to try and get some traction on the issue. And no one wanted to touch it. No one wanted to hear about it.
No.
Because it's too controversial. No one wants to be that guy that sort of speaks up and stands out and wants to be that sore thumb, so to speak.
Yeah.
Which is, it's a shame because these small guys like you and I can put our necks out, but we're just simply not big enough to cut through. And it goes back to the Instagram and TikTok bubble where the big guys only get traction, the big guys only get movement, and
Absolutely.
And if you don't have that behind you, you kind of, even Tones, he's got a huge following with GME, but the outsider's not that huge yet. He's grown pretty damn quick in the 6 months he's been going, but apart from Cowboy Tuned and a few of those guys in that group like Mac Preston and so on, there's no one else really jumping on that and helping him kick the can down the street, which is exactly sort of what we experienced over here. There was no one that was really wanting to jump on and be that sort of next level guy to go, hey, I like what these guys are doing. I'm all for this as well, and really put it out there. And that it's a bit deflating, but I don't know. I guess. Same with the cleanups, when we were organising our cleanups, we did 3 or 4 real big ones. We had hundreds of people turning up. They were getting a bit out of hand actually, so that was good. Like feet on the ground kind of thing. We were getting really good momentum, but it would have been good to have seen some guys with a much larger following kind of put some time in as well. I'm not mad about it. I understand and I get it, and especially for these guys with the bigger channels, they are very busy. I totally get it.
Yeah.
But that would have helped just to take it that next notch, just to expose
Absolutely.
what we're trying to do that little bit more. Because otherwise, you kind of you're never going to fix the issue. You're just sort of mitigating it. You're just sort of you're just helping. You know, you're just doing your bit.
And look, I mean, did you ever
But yeah.
Did you ever discuss like all getting in mankinis and doing your bloody cleanups just to get a little bit of viral backing? I mean,
There was
it's
actually,
crazy.
speaking of mankinis, there was actually an idea from Taylor. It never happened. It should, but there was an idea from Taylor. Taylor wanted to do a calendar and get all of us guys and approach. He did approach a heap of other guys, and everyone was keen. Get us all doing a calendar, and all of us sort of
Yep.
like a fireman calendar almost, you know, but just all us big sloppy YouTube Instagrammers pretty much.
That'd have been awesome.
And then sell that, and any money that came from that to go straight to Bo. But it never happened, and he ended up splitting up north for a couple of years. So maybe when he gets back, might kick that idea off again. But yeah, little funky ways like that. Like Taylor, man, Taylor built a number 5 army trailer. For the show in 2022, I think it was, and then got a whole pile of companies on board, and I think he had like $2,000 or $3,000 worth of stuff in that trailer, and then raffled it off at the Fall Drive show, and Taylor ended up giving 20 odd grand to Bo, and some lucky bugger won the number 5 trailer and a whole pile of goodies within it. So there was all these beautiful little things that were happening, and the guys were getting behind that. All the bigger channels were getting behind that, which was great. But
that gets forgotten pretty quick, though, Matty.
Well, yeah, no one's talked about it since, you know. And so that's the thing. It's like you say, no one really remembers you for when you've done something great. It's when you put your foot out of line.
You ever look at like. Go on, Judd.
Yeah, there's another thing sort of like on that same topic that you mentioned before, just before we started, Brad, with obviously the big channels, like it is a bit disappointing, like with some of the big ones not jumping on, and it was good to see a couple that did, but we were just talking about why aren't the 4Drive product companies getting on it, because we were talking, if the country gets shut down, who are they going to sell their products to? So you would think it would be in their best interest to be supporting and getting behind it. And, you know, they've got the resources, they've got the people, they got, you know, most of the time the following. You know, if even just a couple of companies band together, I can imagine it'd be a huge difference, you know. And why is that not happening, you know?
And I think that's where, like Matty's just saying about that, you know, people don't want to put their head on the chopping block. Ruthie was a perfect example. Case in point of that, you know, he was a big figure, wanted to get people behind him. He should have had, you know, his GME behind him. He should have had ARB behind him, Terrain Tamer, all these big companies, Waco, Engel, all these big companies that are, you know, it's a part of the whole thing, the whole recreational universe. Like everyone's a part of it. But they won't put their head on the chopping block because they're too scared to be controversial, because people just straight away like, mate, it's about making money. I don't care what anyone says, it's always about making money. You know, I work in mining, mate, and they always talk about it's safety first. Bullshit. It's not about safety first at all. It's about making money. You know, like that's the reality. It's no different to that. You know, like it's not about actually standing up for your rights as an Australian citizen to go out there and enjoy your recreational time. It's about making as much money as you can, and the CEO of ARB lining his pockets, you know, and I don't want to get sued because I'm bloody throwing all these names out there, but that's the reality. Sue me, I've got nothing anyway. So, but you know, that's the reality, mate. People they won't put their nose out of, you know, on the chopping block to get chopped off because, mate, it's a business. And the little man who, like us, that, you know, we've got nothing, you know, take what you want. We've got bugger all to give you. But the reality is we don't make a difference. We don't have that big voice. We can't get heard. Perfect example, Tone, like the backing or the people that know him through essentially GME, but through Fall Drive 24/7, you do a couple of trips with those boys, and all of a sudden you become Tony. You're not just Tone, from the back blocks of wherever he lives. You become someone. Why aren't all those people getting on there? So anyone that's associated with GME, and obviously he's got the backing from GME as a business, an Australian business, to why aren't other people thinking, GME have been around a long time, they're a massive contributor to the industry. Why don't other industry people, even like Uniden, I don't know where they're made, they might be made in China, but there'll be people here in Australia that...
Japan.
Are they? Well, there you go. So, but, again, is it just solely about that? Do those businesses not get on because there's not many people genuinely that are Australian businesses anymore? So to make a decision to where we're going to get behind people that are fighting for recreational users, well, mate, at the end of the day, their head office is in Japan. They're not really fighting an Australian fight. Do you know what I mean? They're about making money. It's like, mate, just sell them a better product. Like, get products. Just sell. That's what it's about. So
I think I'm no marketer, but from what I'm aware with this industry, and I see it in the smaller company scale, especially. Companies have marketing teams. These marketing teams are probably straight out of university. They're jumping online to see who to work with, and they're not judging people by character. They're judging people by engagement and by volume of followership and so on. And like you mentioned before, it's money. So they're not going to consider themselves working with someone like me who's a lot smaller, but I might have a far better moral compass in the bush.
100%.
Because I'm not gonna move as much product for them. My moral compass or my camping etiquette or bush etiquette means absolutely dick and balls to these people, because they're being employed by this company that their sole ambition is, we want these influencers to have X amount of views and X amount of engagement so that they can move X amount of our stuff, and we're going to make X amount of money. So the real issue there is that until you have a complete shake-up of the marketing side of these companies, where they are willing to go and engage with someone like Bo or someone like XYZ, who's that bit smaller but he's doing amazing things, or has a real passion for bush etiquette and promoting the right things and so on, the industry's redundant at this point to any change at all, in my opinion, change at all happening. And it's and also just to speak further to that too, I think that we could have all the biggest channels in Australia all come together and do this big superb event promoting nothing but bush etiquette. At the end of the day, I still don't think it's going to do anything, because this problem is so ingrained in, that's not, that sort of thing on a huge scale isn't really going to change old mate's missus who's getting up at 1 o'clock in the morning to take a quick piss, and she's ran over there with 3 sheets of toilet paper behind a tree at camp and needs a quick wipe, wants to get back into bed and go back to sleep. That sort of behaviour is so off the cuff and thoughtless and not really considered, and it's magnified by a million people that are camping, and that's a lot of what we see out there. All the toilet paper and around is a lot of that quick off the cuff behaviour that people just don't even really think about, and that's so ingrained in people's I don't know what it is, just ignorance. It's just absolute ignorance, complete 100% absolute ignorance. And there is no amount of all of us sitting here talking like we are, and all the YouTubers and the Instagrammers and the TikTokers all trying to change the world with all these wonderful messages about rubbish and so on. You are never going to eradicate that simple, just ignorant behaviour. You know what I mean?
And unfortunately,
and that's
mate.
why. Sorry?
Go on, mate. Go on.
I don't know. I'm rambling a little bit, I guess, but I think that it's not so much now about like trying to fix this or stop it. You're never going to stop it on all degrees. You're never going to stop a 20-year-old full of testosterone who's just built himself a 300 horsepower Land Cruiser, wanting to go and give it a good spray up the beach, or that that bird who's taken a wet wipe to the bush behind camp, go and do a quick midnight wee. You know, like those things are never going to not be a thing for as long as camping will exist. But we can still combine forces and try to help in some way or mitigate it.
Yeah.
You're never going to get rid of it, but we can still come together. And I think that's probably why things like with what Tony's doing, petitions I think are mostly redundant to the government. They don't care. You can sign whatever petition you want. The government's just going to go, cool. Well, there's 20,000 people that, okay, whatever, in the bin. It doesn't matter. But at least it's still showing to them. Someone in there might
there is
still
people
care.
there.
And still show, hey, no, we're taking notice and we're mitigating this. We're showing we're noticing, we're taking attention to what you're doing, and we're not happy with it, and we're making you aware. We're trying to hold you accountable still. So
yeah, perfect.
I don't know. Like, it's very complex though.
So obviously that, like you say, it's you can post online as much as you want. It's not going to change it. Well, what are the answers? Is there somewhere on a local level, like we were just talking before, like there is a couple of tracks down south where I wrote down in the Captain Fawcett track, I believe it's the Armadale 4 Drive Club have adopted that track.
Yeah.
The Holland track that have got the
Toyota
Cruiser Club. And I've seen videos in America where their tracks are, and they've got monster trucks driving down these tracks, like, you'd think they'd be destroying it. And there's a bloke that's, I don't know if he's employed or volunteer, his job is to go up and down that track and maintain it. And yes, 100% it's going to get trashed, there's going to be rubbish. Like I just seen when I was looking up the Captain Fawcett track, they put up a post saying, signs have been destroyed and the track's been closed, and of course it's always going to happen. I don't think you're ever going to stop that. But can we counteract it a bit on a local level, like working in on a certain, go to the Department of Parks and Wildlife, maybe they might just piss you off, but can there be a relationship sorted with, okay, we're going to adopt this track, we're going to look after it, and relaying with them seasonal shuts, the Captain Fawcett track during winter is shut to stop it, obviously getting, just flooded out and wrecked more. So is there on a, obviously your bigger channels, you want to be trying to promote all this stuff, but on a local level, I believe, yes, you might not even totally counteract it, but you can at least slow it down with a maintaining.
Come up with solutions.
Yeah.
Yes, this is what I'm so glad you brought this up, because this is where I was going with the mitigating part. I think the single most best thing that we can do for mitigation is by guys like us still continuing to promote us doing the right thing. Everyone kind of gets a little bit I get a little bit testy sometimes when they see someone filming someone cleaning up rubbish or whatever. You might get the odd negative comment like, "Oh, just clean it up. You don't have to film yourself." It can come across like you're trying to you're showboating a little bit, which I don't doubt there are some people that are doing it for a bit of a boost on their algorithm,
for a bit of a like.
But the thing is, at the end of the day, that really is the only weapon of defence that we've got now. We've got this social media here that can be used for so much destructive stuff, but we can also use it for the good, and that is one of the good. Using it to share ourselves picking up some rubbish, or get on there and have a bit of a rant. Like Steve, Old Mates Adventures, or Old Mates Offroad, just got on there. He was last weekend. He was down at Wellington Dam, and he got on there and had a good spray on the Instagram. And it's good. It shakes you up. It makes you remember,
and with passion.
And I think that, and that really is the only way we can do it. Like you say, on a local level, that's the perfect way to word it. Because, like for me personally, I've had some young guys. I was out at Muddy Landing, just on the Murray River, out at Dwellingup a year or two ago, and there was a young guy down there in a patrol. He was camping on the river, minding his own business. Young guy though, would have been barely 20, I reckon. and he'd had a flat battery, and he came out onto the track trying to wave someone down because his battery had gone flat. So I drove in, gave him a jump, and he recognised me straight away because he'd watched a couple of my videos. And he said to me personally, he said, "Man, I had no idea about the whole rubbish thing, and never paid attention to it. I'd be out at camp and I'd just be oblivious to the rubbish around me and never thought of it." And then he was like,
Yeah.
"Since watching your videos and you talking about it, now when I'm around camp, I'm seeing all this rubbish and I can't ignore
Yeah.
it. I have to clean it up." So
Awesome.
that to me says to me, this is the way to do it. We just keep promoting doing the right thing. That is the
Yeah.
way to. You're never going to make it go away. You're never going to change it. Never going to
Yeah.
stop it, rather. But you can definitely help and definitely mitigate just by promoting you having that correct bush etiquette and passion for looking after where you are on your
Well,
own
that's social.
personal level. This just like the social contagion of all the antisocial behaviour is a thing. Definitely
Yeah.
can be that social contagion of doing the right thing as well and starting to be a bit more aware of your surroundings and what's going on around you.
Yeah, and that's social media working for the good, mate. Instead of social media like showing you how to run 35s and drive up and down the beach and get bogged and drag yourself out and making a scene, and this is how far I can drag a van through a track and then piss and moan when your van's falling to bits because you've got it for free. And I think we know who I'm talking about. Like, it's been that's been sort of pretty contentious just in the last
I
sort
don't
of
know
week or
where
two
else
as well.
YouTube can go. I honestly don't know where else YouTube can go from here. It's
No,
just getting worse and worse because everyone's trying to, yeah.
up the next person. And again, mate, that's that that concept of, I say on a lot of our videos, mate, we're obviously a tiny little channel. We mean nothing to a lot of people, and one day I'd like to think that our voice sort of counts. But I say all the time, like, take your rubbish with you. Don't be a flog. And I use those words. I'd love to know the small little amount of people that actually watch our videos, what do they take from that message? Like, because I say it all the time, mate. Like, we've just released a video, and we've gone into a pristine place in the Pilbara that a lot of people are really protective of showcasing. I want to showcase it because it's beautiful, and it's like, people get up here and enjoy it. But then after watching, I said to Jaden this morning, and even I said to my wife, like, it actually makes you wonder, is there merit in people saying, like, don't showcase it, don't show it, keep it off YouTube because then people want to go there. At the end of the day, mate, I'm showing you how to go there, what it looks like when responsible, good, genuine people go there and enjoy the place. This is how you treat it, and this is what it'll be like forever. So I'm trying to send a positive message to people. Go in there. You can see the way I drive. I don't drive in there and try and wheel spin through every corner. I'm not trying to dig trenches, like, mate, at the end of the day, pick up your rubbish, do the right things, don't pollute the water, don't leave anything behind. Like, mate, if I had my way and I could voice my opinion on, I reckon everywhere in the bush, whenever you go camping, glass should be banned. I know that's controversial, and a lot of people would hear that and go, what an absolute flog. Because people love to drink out of glass. Mate, that's fine. When you're at home, drink out of the glass. When you go out bush, drink in a can, squash it down, put it in a bin. There's less likelihood of that can cutting a kid's foot open or whatever than it is a glass bottle. They don't break down as quick. Like, there's so many reasons, and I don't want to sound like I'm a conservationist or whatever. I just don't understand glass in the bush. I never have and I never will. I understand plenty of people do it, but there's so many irresponsible people that take glass out there. Again, like toilet paper, mate. Like, there's plenty of people, and it's funny how you approach that subject, Matty, with the whole, jumping up in the middle of the night and then just throwing the paper there. I'll get it in the morning because, like, right now I'm freezing cold, or we don't deal with that up here. Like, we want to probably get back to the aircon or the fan or whatever. But the concept is, mate, there's a lot of ignorance and there's a lot of, I'll do that later. It doesn't ever happen. And then because, and I said to, again, on subject but off subject, when we talk about like social media and influencers or whatever you want to call everyone, I said to Jaden, before we were recording, and we talk about it quite often because he follows a lot of the younger guys because of his demographic, I guess, that are, running the 37s and busting up, rigs through the bush and all the rest of it. They actually there's a bit of a spin-off on that there's so many young people that want to emulate them. You used the word emulate earlier, Matty. There's so many people that want to emulate them that aren't as responsible as them, and so that's the issue. So you might get your Mac Prestons and your Paulies and all that going out into the bush and doing sick things, and it looks sick. It's mean as, but you never ever see them throwing rubbish in the fire, or you never see them doing the wrong thing. They're driving full drivers as they're meant to be driven. Yep. But then you've got the young fellas that emulate that don't have the same moral compass as you mentioned earlier, that they wreck it for everyone, mate. Like it's, at the end of the day, like, well, I want to be like Cooley, I want to be like Mac Preston and just have the biggest rig and just go and smash the hardest tracks. Plenty of people like to do it, but guys, there's a bigger picture there. These guys are responsible, they're respectful, they're doing all the right things. They go back into, they're not dumping oil out in the bush. They're not just, smashing the CV and ripping it out of their car and chucking it into the trees and driving off. Like, mate, I used to be a big fan, as silly as it is, again, probably off topic. I used to be a big fan of looking at when you go to Gunshot in Cape York and people hanging number plates up in the trees and all the rest of it. And then I remember just someone saying one time, it's actually disgusting. When you go there, it's a pristine environment. It's beautiful. The water you can drink straight out of the crossing. And then so it goes from one number plate to all of a sudden people are leaving Leaf Springs there, and it just becomes like a dumping ground. And it's so where does it stop? And again, that whole concept of leaving stickers on signs, I don't know. I probably sound like an old fuddy-duddy when I say a bit of this shit, but I think it's why I say that is because there's people that don't know that limit. There's a cut-off, mate, and some people don't have that moral compass where they understand the cut-off. Do you know what I mean?
Well, they're cultural. Like I said before, they're cultural traditions that had started in a different time. Started in a time when we weren't so aware, or it wasn't that we weren't so aware, but the issue wasn't so bad, perhaps. And yeah, it's a different time now. Yep. Back 20, 30 years ago, when old mate put his number plate up on that tree, it probably wasn't at risk of it influencing someone else to come and leave a broken CV dripping with oil there as well.
Yeah, correct.
It was a different time, and it just goes back to the bird that might duck behind a bush to do a leak and leaves a paper or a wet wipe there, thinking nothing of it. That's just the way that she probably learnt from her mum or her old man back 20 years ago, and maybe back at that point in time, that wasn't so much of a big issue because it was on a lot less scale. Camping wasn't so popular. There wasn't so much damage happening in generally speaking, out there in the bush, and those little one-off things weren't so permeating. But now, all these years later, when we've got this industry that basically can't cope, it's at boiling point now. Every little action like that now has a literal reaction. You see one guy wearing pit vipers. One guy wears pit vipers. And the next thing, you've got 1,000 guys wearing pit vipers.
Jaden. Yeah, that's Jaden. Jaden's a copycat with that sort of stuff.
That's the point of this social contagion culture type thing, and it's exacerbated so much now by the TikToks and the Instagram that those little one-off things like that probably didn't have so much of an impact or weren't so much of an issue. And you're right. Singular individual behaviour now have a massive impact. Yeah. And
look, I mean, the silly thing is, this is that we can do things for the greater good, social media and YouTube and all the rest of it. If everyone was to have that positive spin on it instead of just trying to be the next big name and do it for a living, I think everyone would love to just. Mate, I'd love to be able to, sit here and do a podcast each week and get paid $100,000 a year for it. Fucking sign me up. I'm be more than happy to do it. But it's the concept, and this is again probably off topic, but there's a particular company. I'm not going to throw this name out there, and everyone will know I'm talking about. There's a particular company that does car wash products. And they have reached out to every Instagrammer, every YouTuber in Australia's history. And, mate, you watch how many people. We personally got reached out. They reached out to us. And I just happened to, when we actually got an email from them. How they got our email address is beyond me. But anyway, they did. and then got an email. So I actually jumped on the Instagram and I watched some of the most like cringeworthy reels from so many people that I follow and I liked and all the rest of it.
Yeah,
You know,
I
putting
know.
bubbles in their hair and washing a
I know.
car. It's like, man, if you spent more time actually picking up rubbish and promoting rubbish pickup and, you know, looking after the bush that you did, putting bubbles in your hair, trying to get a reel so you get famous, mate, would be a better place for it. So, you know, that's, again, you know, it's ridiculous. But, again, there's not enough people. And I'd be interested to know, mate, I don't know how long ago, because it is easy to lose track of time. You know, like Bo got a little bit of traction there, and then, you know, obviously he had his injury, and then, you know, he sort of went quiet there for a bit. Obviously, he was injured, so he's not out there, you know. I'd be interested to know if he could tell you statistics, and he doesn't really get, you know, he talks about it a bit, but I don't think he lays himself out there as a hero. Like, I mean, I think he just wants everyone to help him and just like, you know, let's just all pull together. It shouldn't just be my job. Like, we should be all doing it, and then, you know, we could all work together. But I'd be interested to know the statistics of how many people dropped off because he was inactive or inactive, whatever the word is. Like, mate, he's injured. Right now, this is where we need to, as recreational people, as people that love the bush and want to follow him, this is where we need to pick up the slack. This is where we need to say, hey, guys, Bo's injured at the moment. He can't do particular areas. Let's go in there and chop him out. Let's even go and pick up his trailer. Like, I'm not saying that I'm an angel, mate, and I do everything right in life and I'm going to fucking save the world. It's not what I'm saying. But we don't ever... you know, and like with your the impact you guys had, you have that little impact for a minute, and then all of a sudden it just goes cold because there's not enough foot soldiers to get in there and just say, mate, all right, you're doing that area, Matty, we'll do it in this area, or we'll do it here, or we'll pick up the slack. You know, Matty's gone offline for 5 minutes, like, well, let's pick up the slack for him. It's like, nah, there's not enough foot soldiers out there fighting the same battle. You know, you can have a voice, as you said, petitions are probably almost a thing of the past, mate. They're not. I think you still got to do it because I think it raises awareness, which is a positive, but I don't know whether they gain much traction, to be honest.
Well, there's leaders and followers, isn't there? You have the guys that are willing to, and me and Braden, Jay from Bin Chicken. There's a few of us that were Levi from Bush Rats. We were pushing pretty hard there and getting some big cleanups organised. Did one with Bo down at Buffalo Beach and ended up with 100 or more people down there and 50 odd cars, I think it was.
Epic, yeah.
But that's so much work.
Yeah.
And you're worrying about someone doing themselves a mischief or there's so much to think about, and you'll put the event out there, and you'll end up with so many people that'll say they're coming, and a lot don't. You'll get a good turnout, but a lot more say they come, but they don't, which is fine. I'm not having a go, but that's just the reality of these sorts of things as well. People sort of like to get behind it virtually, but then don't really want to back it up with their actual feet, and that's just how it goes with everything. But yeah, it's we did 3 or 4 of them over that couple of year period there, and by the end of it, we were just I couldn't handle doing any more organising and dealing with people, just because it's a lot. And and like you say, once we had sort of dropped off from doing it, you get messages now and then, people still asking when's the next cleanup and whatnot, which is nice. But there's not really anyone else that obviously has. You mentioned it, Jaden. You were thinking about doing one, but there's not really anyone that's sort of ready to pick up the baton and carry on with it.
I did one locally, and like you say, the organising, like went to the Shire, tried to do it through them. And like the towns are bloody, I mean, there's a whole other subject down here, but just the Shire don't do anything in the township, let alone outside the bush. And we wanted to, you know, went through them. I was like, have you guys got forms to fill out? You know, because if someone gets pricked with a needle and gets this and that, then I'm going to jail, or, you know, you go through that. Went all through that. I had one family rock up, and you know, we'd got like the bags and the gloves. And, you know, I'm like, well, I might as well. The amount of effort I put to organising it, I could go probably get three ute loads just by myself, you know. So it's like you say. I mean, and yes, it's a small area down here. You don't expect, you know, it's not, you know, it's a town with, you know, probably only a couple hundred people in it, but still, you think, you know, like there's people on our notice board complaining about it, but as you say, no one wants to get on the ground and
Be a foot soldier.
yeah, actually do it, you know. And it's the same, you know. Chucked up about in that group chat we had, and you know, so we got a bit wound up about it, and there's some people like, why do you bother? Like, don't even fucking bother, mate. Just, you know, like, and it's like, well, you got to do something. You know, you can't just. You look at it. It's like I said, you know, for years I want to be able to, with my kids, go out there and fish and four drive and all this and that, but it feels like you've got to try and fight with something, you know. So,
can I hit you up on a topic, lads? What's your opinion? And I know, Jaden, we had some guys send in some questions, and I'd like you to read them out. But one of the questions, I'll sort of just touch on it sort of roughly, but the whole taking photos, like, because a lot of people now are too scared, because there's some absolute idiots out there in the world. And, you know, like if you're out bushing and, you know, there's a bunch of lads, chicks, whatever, you know, throwing rubbish or doing all the wrong shit. A lot of people are quite intimidated and scared to go over there and say, hey guys, like, if you think about that, because you don't want to lose your life or end up in hospital, worst case scenario, just by trying to reach out to someone and educate them and teach them or whatever, or just call them out on it. What's your opinion, guys, on the whole secretly, because everyone carries a phone or a camera nowadays, like taking like footage of it, or taking photos of regos and then dobbing them in, like, are you around that?
I don't
You
know,
want to go,
it's a hard
Jaden?
one.
Or?
Yeah, it's a hard one. Like you say, it'd be good. I suppose the whole idea of the camping is you want to enjoy. You're out there to enjoy yourself, and so especially if you're with family, you don't want to wind people up. Because it was in the same group chat we were talking that was their thing. Don't worry about doing anything, just take a photo and send it in. And my thing was, well, that feels like it gives them, the Department of Parks and Wildlife, more fuel to shut it down. Or
That's the thing.
so that I don't even know if I have an answer, because I feel like you'd almost be giving them more fuel. Like, I'd almost prefer to just wait for them to piss off and pick it up myself. Like, that would be my worry with, you know, and they're probably not even going to chase it up, to be honest. Like, unless it's some other, if you go past the gate or something, I'm pretty sure the department will chase you, but it's a rubbish amount of, and it's the same with just general society. Like, with the coppers, you know, you could go bash an old lady, the paperwork and all the bullshit they got to go through to actually, and they get a slap on the wrist, which is, I don't know if it's the same with, you know, the rubbish and stuff, but the amount of stuff they probably have to do and evidence and this and that, and does it have to go to court to give them a fine, or however it works, like, is it even worth it? So
that's a weird analogy, mate. Like,
no, but you know what I mean, like the politics of everything these days, like,
I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
like,
that's everything popped up. But yeah, so to be honest, my answer would be I'd probably just wait and pick it up myself, and I have done that in the past. I'd feel like you'd just be almost feeling the fire in a sense. What's your?
So you've been in that situation where you've watched people camp near you, and then you've waited until they've left.
Yeah,
not you know specifically, but when they've left, you've gone over and just picked up their rubbish.
Yeah.
Short of like, was there a reason you didn't go over there and say, "Hey guys, like, do you just want to pick up your rubbish before you leave?" Or
I think, like I said, like, you know, we go down the beach. It's normally with family and stuff, and it's that thing, like, I can't be real. Like, you're going to fight with them, guaranteed they're going to be arcing up. It's the same with you going off for half the time, people getting bogged. You go off for them and they go, oh, you can get stuff, mate, think I can do it. And it's just like, I can't be fucked, to be honest. Like I said, it's easier for me to just go chuck it in the back of my wagon or ute, or, you know, I've had bits and pieces of, you know, even bigger objects. Something's broken, and they've just, stuff this, you know, the gazebo, I'll leave it there, or something like that. And it's just easier for me to just go chuck it in the back of the ute, to be honest. That's my take on it.
Yeah. You, Matty?
I have encountered, it wasn't me, but I have heard of one interaction where, I won't mention names, but someone that I know was camping, or not camping, you can't camp in that area. They were down at the beach at this spot down the southwest for a day. And there was a couple of vehicles that were driving up these dunes into a sensitive dune area. And my mate wasn't too impressed with that, so he, rather than going, I think he may have gone up actually in the first place. He did go up and approach them, copped a mouthful from them. So then he did decide then to take some photos and some footage, and then sent that through to the local shire, and there was some punishment delivered on that.
That's good.
Yeah, but then I've been in the situation myself where I've had sort of some incriminating evidence, and it just fell on deaf ears. Nothing happened at all. So, me personally now these days I'll just leave. If it's that bad, I'll just pack up and leave.
Yeah,
that's how I handle it now.
Yeah, and I think, man, that's actually a thing, and it was funny because, and there was absolutely zero malice in it, but, and again, it's probably different, but we were, my wife and I were out bush just before Christmas and went out there. We're actually going out there to film a Q&A for ourselves, and we parked up in this spot, no one there, mate. There was a massive area there for like on a big water hole. Like you could fit 1,000 people along this water hole, and we just pulled up in this little corner, and basically probably took too long to get set up, and and then a family had come in and basically camped straight down on top of us, and then was just like, and they got little speedboats and the kids are screaming and all that, and it's like, well, not a big deal, because at the end of the day, everyone's entitled to go out there and enjoy the bush and all this. So they're doing the exact same, trying to get out of the Pilbara heat. They didn't do anything wrong, but it was that whole, it was easier for me just to get up and leave. Had they been throwing rubbish and look, mate, they pulled up, we were dead quiet, we were about to like rip out the cameras and start filming, and just like pull up beside us, flick the doors open on their car and crank that music. And it's just like, I don't get it. And look, to be honest with you, due to just not wanting to be controversial, I wasn't in the mood to just go over and say, hey, mate, like, is there any chance you could move like a couple hundred metres down? Like, you've just basically pulled up on me bonnet and cranking the music. Like, in all fairness, it was good music. It's music that I'd listen to, but wasn't the point. I wasn't there to listen to music, mate. I just wanted me little space there, and we wanted to chill out. So instead of being controversial, we did just pack up our stuff and went to a different spot. Unfortunately, like 20 minutes after we'd left, like we sat there for probably, I said to Fee, we'll give it an hour, and we sat there listening to the music and we're just yarning or whatever. I gave it an hour, and then we packed up, went to the next spot, like another water hole. There was along that same water hole on that same stretch of water, but went a bit further down, and about 15 minutes later, 20 minutes later, we heard them drive past, and I was just like, you're kidding me. Like, if we had stayed there another 20 minutes, it would have been right. But the same thing, I didn't want to be controversial and say, hey guys, like, do you want to turn your music down? Like, we love music, but we don't really want to sit here at the disco. Like, we didn't come here for a disco. So it was easier for me to drive off. Rubbish and that, I'm a bit differently, mate. Like, and I know I've been in the bush where people have left fires going. I will, not to sound like I'm Rocky Balboa, but I will cop a smack in the mouth to tell people to put fires out every single day of the week. Music and that I can drive off. But if people leave a fire going and go to drive off, mate, I don't even process it. There's no filter between my brain and my eyes and my mouth when it comes to that. It's just like, hey, mate, are you leaving, are you? Like, is there any chance you can put your fire out? And I'll deal with that on the spot, because I'm real passionate about it. If you're going to leave your rubbish, hey, mate, do you want to take your rubbish? Have you got bags or anything? Do you want me to lend you a bag? And if I get, like, fuck off, mate, and a bit of carrots, like, all good, mate, no worries. I'm not going to stand here and fight you for it. Just think it's pretty irresponsible, mate, because at the end of the day, like, there's no reason you brought it in there. You should take it with you. I'll do what Jaden did. I might have my word, depending on the situation. And I guess you pick your fights. You analyse your environment, and you sort of think, well, this might be a fight I'm going to lose here. I'll just wait until I leave and pick it up. But they seem like people that potentially, like you said, you touched on earlier, Matty, just a bit of ignorance, that it's just like it's normal behaviour, and just like, mate, it's not that big a deal, it'll break down. Well, it doesn't. So, I'll pick it up when you leave, sort of thing. So, I'm interested to know, like, whether people out there, because I know it gets touched on a bit, the whole taking regos down, and I think there's a bit of validation in your point, Jaden, and do we just load them up with ammunition? Because if you're showing perfect footage, because I said before, we love a good story. The Shire and the Cantle and all that wouldn't be any different. It'd be just that much easier to close it down. So that's just another area these guys don't have to go and pump money into, even though it's our money. Like, at the end of the day, they're funded by our taxpayers' money. So at the end of the day, it's not coming out of their pockets. But it's easier just to put a gate up. Fence. I don't know, mate. Like, I don't know whether it is that simple, whether people see stuff like that and, go to a meeting within their organisation and they just say, oh, just gate it. I don't know whether there's people in that meeting that
Seems
say,
like it.
oh, well, mate, is there a solution? Can't we work through this? There's got to be a better way than, surely in these meetings there's got to be one person that enjoys going fishing or camping or four-wheel driving that says, hang on a minute, like, let's come up with solutions instead of just, throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Like, let's bloody sit down here and come up with a solution of how do we manage this? Again, Matty, you said mitigate it. Like, how do we put stuff in place that is fair to everyone? Might not be perfect. It might not be, as Tone says in his potty, we're not asking for free-for-all. We're not saying we want to just go in there and rip it up. But, parts of it or time of the year or whatever, we want to go and enjoy it. So what are we going to put in place? Because I think it's easy for everyone to piss and moan and whinge. But what do we, like anything my boss will often say to me, I'll walk in and say, mate, that's bullshit. Like, we need to sort that out. Well, what's your solution, Brad? It's all good to come in here and piss and moan and say you don't like it. But what's your solution? When you come into my office and you say, I'm not happy with that, have a think about it, process it, take a breath, come up with a solution, and come in and say, hey, mate, I'm not really happy with the conditions we're working in, but how about, is there any chance we can do this? Can we put this in place? Come up with a solution. No different to, shutting gates and, putting bollards up and doing all that sort of stuff. Well, what's the solution, guys? Because we've made this happen. And again, in those lads' potty, they talk about a lot of these things have been put in place solely because of cockheads. Like, that's the reality of it. They haven't just said, like, that's a beautiful beach, let's put a gate on it. Yeah. Like, they've gone down to a beautiful beach and there's blokes doing doughies or, people leaving rubbish behind or throwing glass in the sand or leaving fires going or, putting up a particular brand's awning or, gazebo, and it shits itself. It's only worth $50, so they leave it behind and someone's got to pick it up. It's all from that. It's all stems from that. So these guys aren't going in and closing areas off just because they're arseholes. Like, there's a reason. They're putting solutions to the problem. And the solution is, well, if we close it off, we're not going to have to deal with it because they won't be able to get in there. So, and there's a better way. And again, I don't know what potty it was on, and I think Jade and we spoke about it, and I reckon, Matty, you'd be fully aware of the conversation, but there was a conversation that happened on another potty, I believe it was on another potty or somewhere, talking about the big name on everyone's lips when it comes to cheap camping gear. Everyone knows who I'm talking about. Them being responsible for going and picking up the rubbish in the bush. So if people go out with one of their gazebos and it shits itself mid-camp and they leave it behind, is it the responsibility of that particular business to go and pick up that gazebo? I just don't understand that concept, why anyone would think that up. Like, at the end of the day, why would they go and pick up everyone's rubbish? What, because you can't be responsible? Like, it has nothing to do with that. At the end of the day, you bought a cheap gazebo, it shit itself, pay the price and just pick it up. You brought it in there, put it back in the bag it came in, put it back in that same spot it came out there with, go to your local tip and put it in the bin.
That's on a simple thing. That's saying, all right, you sold a Red Dust Adventures shirt. They've gone long and fucking...
Quality shirt, mind you.
Yeah, quality. But I'm just saying, say I don't know, jumping off the back of the ute, you hook it on your tray, rip it. What do you do? Rip it off, chuck it in the bush, and then you've got to go figure out where it is to go. That doesn't make sense, does it?
crazy concept. Absolutely crazy concept. So, and again, I don't even know, like, what your take is. You've basically just answered the same as what I did, Jane. Like, is that just like really who would come up with that concept? Like, did you hear that, Matty?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I didn't necessarily agree with it. I think that maybe maybe there's a little bit of merit in that aspect, in the sense that maybe you would want or expect or hope that that company would make a better product that wouldn't break.
Yeah, fair call.
But
Yep.
but at the end of the day, it's pointless singling out that particular product when BCF's products are the same, Anaconda's products are
100%.
the same.
Yep.
They're all that range, TJM even, all
100%.
those ranges are all that real low cost budget model
Yep.
stuff.
Yep.
And it's, sure, that brand that was being mentioned is probably out there a little bit more, but I don't think it's a brand issue. It goes back again to that ignorant culture that we've got that exists
Absolutely,
within
brother.
the industry and the community. And
Yep,
there's no
absolutely.
point in. I don't think there's any point in trying to single out a particular brand.
No.
I think even if that same type of person went and bought a $3,000 Bush Company order,
Absolutely.
if that broke on them,
Yeah.
their mentality is to leave stuff in the bush. They're going to leave it no
Absolutely.
matter what.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really see any other way to really look at that.
No, you bang on, mate. That's
I
a
don't
personal
know.
thing. Doesn't matter what
Yeah.
brand you buy.
I think it's
At the
a
end of the day,
DNA
that's a
thing.
person.
It's not a brand thing. It's
Absolutely.
a DNA thing.
Absolutely, it is. No, absolutely, it is. No,
But then on
I
the
agree.
flip
And
side to that, I guess on the flip side to that is, well, what's the chances of a $3,000 awning breaking out there? So that I do understand where the idea comes from, that you're buying these products that are so cheap and inferior that they are going to tend to break more out there, and because so many people are buying them because they're so cheap, there's so much more of them out there. I get it,
Yeah.
but it's not just that brand. It's the lower. It's
across the board.
it's the lower market, that lower entry level market in general. And I still
again-
don't think that the brand has anything to do with that. I think it's more education should be put onto the consumer.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Not, like, start promoting something like Poor Man Pays Twice. Buy
Yeah.
something right the first time. Maybe
Yeah.
and then you could have that argument, well, some people are only going to go camping 2 or 3 times a year and they don't want to spend $500 for something they can get for $100. Yeah, okay, so that's fine then. So then again, they might not necessarily be that people with the mindset of using and abusing something, and when it breaking, being dumped in the bush. There's a lot more to it, I feel like, than just, this brand bad, dumped in bush lots. Company responsibility. I don't think it's that simple. Yeah. And I love Bo. I love Bo to death. He's one of my best mates. And I think Tones as well, the champions. But I just think that was maybe, that conversation was maybe just a little bit,
far-fetched.
misled. A little, yeah.
And look, to be honest with you, mate, here's a concept, and this is just like, and I've just made this up in my head right now, and it'll be laughable, I guess, but here's a concept of, when we're talking about businesses getting involved in the whole process of, like, keeping places open, educating people, would there be any merit in saying to these particular businesses, and you just name 5 of them, so we've got 5 companies suing us, so that's good, thanks, mate.
Cool.
So I've just lost everything we've ever worked for, but no, the reality is, mate, is there a concept of a particular business or any of those businesses saying, so you empty your gas bottle, you go back there, you get it refilled at that business. Is there a concept that could be put forward? And it's, I'm just sort of spitballing here, but these particular businesses have a recycle bin at their premise where you bought that from. If you go out, your gazebo shits itself, if they won't give you a warranty, bring it out of the bush, guys. We'll put it in our bin that we supply out the front, and we will pay for it to go to the tip. Don't leave it in the bush. An incentive, something like that. Like, mate, instead, because I think in one of our questions, mate, and we probably should get onto those questions.
That would roll on perfect with this next one.
So is it called a segue? Is that, like, that's a pretty big word, segue?
It's a bit too much for me, mate, now.
But if you want to roll into, because one of the questions, it comes around expenses, getting shit to the tip. So
Old
That's what I was
Evan,
gonna say.
old Luxy, Evan. Thank you very much as usual for your question. Well, they're more statements; they're not necessarily questions.
Yep.
So we sent out thing on Instagram and a couple of messages of people asking just some general, I guess, opinions on it all.
Yep.
Evan said it's one of those battles where we are forever losing, but got to keep going and keep doing cleanups. Need to be in a position where forward drivers are seen as help, and but not the problem. Plus, the tip is so bloody expensive. Trying to get rid of rubbish costs a fortune.
Yeah.
So, and that's a concept, mate. That like unfortunately,
that.
100%, mate. Like, unfortunately, it's a thing. How it's ever come to that is beyond me. Because again, these transfers, because obviously, up here it's a tip, and it was always a tip. You just dump everything in a bloody big pile and you bury it. Now, especially in the cities and stuff where we're not familiar with, but they have transfer stations, so you can, everything has its spot. Everything needs to go to a particular spot. But it costs money to do it, mate. We're fortunate. Again, this is where a lot of the time I don't have that same passion or understanding, or I'm not educated the same, because we don't pay to go to the tip up here. Our tip essentially is starting to become a bit of a transfer station where tyres go in the tyre bin and, batteries go to batteries and all that sort of stuff. So it's actually all laid out like that. But we don't pay to go to the tip. It's still free here. So I guess we don't. And the stupid part is, mate, if you drive, when you go into the tip, you go past grasslands and that, and people are still dumping rubbish in the bush right beside the tip. It's like, it's free, guys. Like, you don't even have to pay to go in there. Like, you can just, but I don't understand the concept of dumping your rubbish in the bush because it may be too expensive to go to the tip. But it makes absolute sense that if you're on a budget, because not everyone earns good money, not everyone can have good gear, and we are fortunate that we can buy better gear, because we do earn a better pay, I guess, than some other people. There's obviously millionaires, and we're not them. And then there's people that are really struggling to make ends meet on a regular basis. It's the world we live in. Let's not sort of sugarcoat that. But these guys that are going to these particular companies and buying everything on sale and buying budget gear so they can come and enjoy the same life we do, they have just as much fun, they do all the right things. The reality is that if they're going to do that, they might not have the money to go and, mate, you buy a $50 gazebo, let's round it off at a $100 gazebo, it shits itself on the first trip because a bit of wind comes through and snaps it in half, but it costs you $30 now to take it to the tip. I don't say that the answer to that is leave it in the bush and someone else will sort it out, but bring it home and, I don't know, go down and just leave it on the front step of the place where you bought it.
Yeah, could I add to that? Not even on a forward driving level, and I'm sure you've all seen it, just household items get dumped in the bush. For that fact of,
brother.
We just passed it in Perth the other day, and right on a main road as well, and just a trailer load of just household stuff, and a lot of shires, and I know there is some shires that it might not be free for just all year round, but they have if you live in that shire, you get two free trailer loads a year or something like that, or it's the same in Manjimup where we're moving to. It's expensive. Like, we live on a farm, we don't have rubbish truck that comes out, and we've took a bit of a tip truck, and it was like bugger all in there, and they're trying to charge us for a full load and this and that.
Yeah, because you're industrial or commercial or whatever.
Yeah, and even the bins, they're like, we sit there with the truck, they're pushing this rubbish down the bins to try and get as much in there because it's just so expensive. It's ridiculous, and everything. Even just buying something, all your packaging that comes with it's half your bin, So it's
of course.
Even just out of camping on just a household level, it's it'd be nice.
Rubbish in general.
Yeah, just like shires and stuff, if they could implement, it'd be awesome. And I know it probably wouldn't, because obviously it costs money. They've got to run machines to run these tips and all that sort of stuff. But it'd be cool if they can implement free trailer loads a year or something like that.
Yeah, but a box of beer used to be $50. Now it's $75. So where's all that money going? Run the tips with it if you can. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's probably no more expensive to run or to make that box. I mean, it's a stupid concept, but I mean, taxes, man. We all pay taxes, and we pay more and more taxes on everything. We pay tax on top of tax on top of tax. and I don't understand why you've got to pay more to be a better person. To take stuff to the tip. Why are we paying to do that? Like at the end of the day, we pay enough in our rates. Why our rates go up every year? I've never ever heard of rates going down. Saying no, you're good citizens. I'm going to give you a deduction on your rate. Yeah, I'm going to give you a year off just so you can afford to go to the tip. Like at the end of the day, it's not a concept. So again, Evan, appreciate your input as normal. You're one of our OGs, but that is a thing. Like, people, maybe it is too expensive to go to the tip, so they leave it in the bush. But again, that comes down to that potentially not even just budget. Now it comes down to a cultural thing where if that's,
huge part.
I don't know. This is where it gets really complex. Like, what's your thoughts on that, Matty?
Oh, I was just thinking I'd pick up on Evan's point about being prepared to pick up rubbish. I think that's the definite mindset that I'm in, and a lot of us are in that mindset that we know at some point when we're out we're going to be picking up rubbish.
Yeah.
And that's probably, we've already covered that anyway, but that's a good mindset to be in. And I'd encourage anyone to sort of start thinking about that as well. It's like, that's just the times we live in now, and we shouldn't have to, and you don't want to, and it's disgusting. But once you sort of just become at peace with that, I guess, that can help in general. The
broader picture.
I'm definitely gonna come across rubbish of some sort. Obviously, if someone's come out with a 6x6 trailer and dumped a whole pile of white goods and coffee tables, then you're a bit limited there. But camping wise, generally speaking, I think not because you guys covered it already, really. Anyway, but like as far as dumping goes, dumping's not isolated to fall driving. I would say that
100%.
Bush dumping is more just the people that are lazy, or they don't have the money, they don't want to go to the tip. It's a matter of convenience to drive. We've got a spot down in Dawesville on the beach run opposite the estuary, one of the most amazing spots in this entire area, and directly across that rubbish gets dumped about 10 metres away from the main road, just because it's a matter of ease. It's a matter of it's just so easy and convenient for people to go and dump a trailer load of their crap. But the other thing is, the irony of it is that we have a dump pickup here, a veg collection every year. And renters don't get free passes, owners do, which I think if anything, renters should get the free passes for a tip. I think that would be a great way to mitigate that general bush dumping from general population. Just start giving everyone a couple of tip passes every year from the council. It'd add up in cost, I'm sure, but it's money that's coming within its own. Our taxes are paying for it still. Renters are still paying tax. So I think that there's ways that the government could fix it, but for whatever reason they're not. But that's probably about all I got to say about that.
Yeah. What else? What other questions have you got there? Or statements, I should say.
Opinions.
Yeah.
Dylan from Last Minute Living. Thanks a lot. Said, look, it's about what about like a forward drive committee, because it seems like the politicians ain't forward drive enthusiasts. Seems one of the problem of people trashing the joint, but two, they don't get the money for it. Lack of bins at camping spots probably doesn't help in some instances. I've been to heaps, but having made room for rubbish when space is already restricted probably doesn't help.
So there's another thing that, again, the boys were talking in their podcast, and it was a really great point. And I know they sort of touched on the concept of, again, social media, influencers, YouTubers, bloody Instagrammers, TikTokers. And it's something that I've never thought of, to be honest with you. I don't know whether you guys have picked up on it or thought about it either, but I talked about that flow-on effect of, so you've got your big name YouTubers or whatever, go to a particular area that used to be reasonably quiet, like it might be a place like, Broke Inlet or whatever. I'm not familiar with Broke Inlet. I know one of the lads that I'm good mates with at work. He goes there quite often with his family and loves it, reckons it's a great spot. A couple of the other lads that follow our potty, they go there. A particular area like that all these everyday Joe Blows go there, and it's a great spot, and it's looked after, it's quite good. you get a big name YouTuber go in there and go, how good's Broke Inlet? This is the bomb, rah, rah, rah. And next minute, that flow-on effect. And apparently there is statistics around this that it gets bombarded with people because there's a lot of people that never knew about, say, and again, just Broke Inlet, so for example. But then, you know, big namers have been there and everyone goes there and the infrastructure's not there to combat that. There's no toilets, there's no bins, there's no... The area, the camping area, because so many people go there, goes from a paddock as big as, you know, half an acre. All of a sudden now it's 5 acres because people just keep squeezing out, and it just, all of a sudden that camping area that used to be able to sustain, you know, 5 or 6 campers on a weekend or whatever, can't do it anymore because there's that. It's just, and then obviously because there's no bins there, you get one irresponsible person that throws a bit of rubbish in the bin, and like the sheep that we are here in the world, well, you know, oh, well, it's good enough for him, it's good enough for me, and then it just becomes a flow-on effect. I've never understood that. I've never actually processed that concept, that how big an impact someone on YouTube could go in there and turn an area that was, you know, before time, a really nice spot and really quiet, into just like a mecca, just because they've put it up on YouTube. Is that something that you guys had sort of processed, or I'm sure you're aware of it, but yeah.
Well, it's sort of this could be a little bit controversial too. So when I was just out of school, that was actually what I wanted to become, as a ranger for the Department of Parks and Wildlife. And I want to say this with respect to the good rangers and stuff. Like, there's an extreme amount of rangers that, you know, do the right thing and they're good, and they have a yarn. Like, I've met so many good ones, and you have a yarn, and they tell you it's a good fishing spot and rah rah. But there were so many people I worked with. I volunteered there for a while to try and get a job. And so many people I worked with that, like, you would spend half the day just driving to this spot just to go to lunch and all this sort of stuff, and you drive past all this rubbish, and it's like, this is what we get paid to do, bro, is to
and they're not processing it.
Yeah, and so the bins and stuff, that might help and stuff, but like, bro, like, you've literally paid to go cruise down the beach and go check on the place. Wouldn't you be chucking, you know, what's an extra 100%. Half an hour in your day you're getting paid to do? Like, just chuck some extra rubbish in there, and
that's
again,
that moral compass again, mate.
And again, there's, you know, I'm not having to go at all the good guys that are trying to do the right thing. But, you know, there are so many people, and I guess that just goes across the board as people in general, what your moral compass is. But, you know, that I feel like that should be put in a bit as well. There's so much wasted money in that sort of, you know, it should be, well, I'm pretty sure it probably would be part of the job, but it's not being done, you know.
Yeah. What's your spin on the influx of, like, what a YouTuber can bring to an area, Matty?
Oh, yeah, it's definitely a thing. It can't not be a thing. It's 100% a thing. And it probably in the very beginning, I think we could get away with it. We could definitely get away with it. But then in these last few years, with the explosion of camping, and especially here in WA, well, across the board, because a lot of us were all segregated into our own areas, which meant that holiday making and that vacation status relied on you going locally. And so I have no doubt that it's exacerbated well, you can tell, it's definitely exacerbated the pressure on our local areas. And I can't be critical of anyone that has gone into areas and named where they are, I guess, in these. Oh, of course. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and that's what I mean.
But at the same time, like, in the beginning, we all wanted to show off our area.
Absolutely.
That's part of it. We want to show off these places that we go to, and we want to tell the world about where we are and get down here and come and see it. It's beautiful, you know, like, if we can't do that, then what the fuck are we doing it for? You know,
100%. 100%.
Like, it's such a double-edged sword. It's such a shame that we need to now reconsider because of the grubs. You know, like me now, I am actually making a conscious effort, and I haven't done for a while. I'm not putting in detail of where I am in free camping areas. I will, even now, for some hip camps that I really like too, because they just get bombed and you can't book them out because they're booked out for months or weeks. For free camping, I'm no longer now saying where I am specifically. I will if I'm in a depot type area, because whatever. And some hip camps now I'm avoiding as well, just because I'm not finding it productive for the area itself. But I think that's not to say that I'm dirty at anyone that ever has, or I'm not dirty at myself for when I have. But it's just now a reflection of the times we're living in, and that the places are heaving, everywhere's really struggling with the pressure of this industry now. And I think that we all need to start showing a little bit more understanding of where we're at with the industry. And that, for me, one simple way for that is by me now withdrawing how much information I give to where I am.
And that's a thing now too, mate, eh?
Yeah.
But I
You
think
have
too.
to. You have to.
I think too, even obviously, like you say, a big YouTuber goes in, or any YouTuber, you will send that traffic in there. But I was actually just talking the other day with my father-in-law, talking about, obviously this Christmas will be the first Christmas with a kid and stuff, and we're like, oh, it'd be cool to, go camping for this one, and we're like, oh, I remember that, when, like, years ago we went to that, there's an old watering hole, and, like, there'd be, like, there was two of us there, and it's not, and I haven't, like, a lot of these spots down here that we've been for Christmases and all that sort of stuff hasn't really, that I have known of, hasn't been put on YouTube. But like you say, the explosion of the industry, especially since COVID, no one could go overseas, or let's buy a caravan or a camper or something, and we'll go travelling around now. And just for the word of mouth, and like you say, the industry going big, just from that, like, these spots are flooded now. Like, there used to be spots, it was all our locals I only used to know. And like I say, they're not even massive hot spots or anything, but you just go there and just so many people now are doing it. Like, you can't get a spot, you're camping right next to someone at Christmas. And I was blown away. Like, I think it was last Australia Day, we went down, I was like, in the area, like, I'll just have a quick swim, like, not camping or anything. Oh, you couldn't even you had to walk through someone's camp in Collie to get to the water. Like, literally, we could not get in there. Like, so yes, obviously that YouTube thing is a huge part of it, but just the industry of word of mouth, even just, you tell your mate down the road, and then they get into it, and then just everyone tells one mate of a spot. There's a couple hundred people, 1,000 people, that now know about it. So it's all right, guys, we're wrapping up part 1 here. Hope you've enjoyed it. Part 2 will be dropping very shortly. It was a very good podcast. This one, really enjoyed it. It's so knowledgeable with all of it. So really enjoyed it, and we'll see you on part 2.
Yeah, thanks, matey, for joining us. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Part 2 will be out very soon. Cheers, Dave.
Fucking yeah.